Then it hits the 21st century, folks, and we hit 2000, and we started seeing commercials. I was 6 of this movie called Fellowship of the Ring, and I just remember the world at large was like, wait a second, is this what I think this is about to be? Let's talk about fantasy, sci-fi, Lord of the Rings during the trilogy era. Because what, dude, that was exciting. I know we were young. That changed everything. It changed everything.
It did. I mean, I have no problem saying, and I'll fight anyone who argues with me, that is the single best movie series of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it cannot be beaten. Recreated with as much care and dedication to the art in today's world, it will not be surpassed.
Detailed everything, costume, setting,
everything. There are a few moments in that series where you can see the dated technology. But beyond, like, over the course of the entire series, 3 movies, like 4 or 5 moments where the technology is clearly dated, it is unbeatable.
22 years ago, man. That's when that came out.
They still hold up. 17 Oscars across 3 movies. When I think Harry Potter got 1?
Oh, I'm surprised he got 1, but yeah. Probably. It definitely didn't get more than 5, I can tell you that.
But it's what opened the door to so many people, myself included, to the Tolkien universe. Because your dad was a Tolkien head beforehand, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you were looking forward to those movies. I was 5 years old when those movies, 5 or 6 when those movies came out. I didn't know they existed. My parents certainly weren't going to let me watch them at that age. I watched them a couple years, like, I think I watched all 3 of them the year that Return of the King came out, so 2003.
Oh, wow, dude.
And so that's what opened my door to Tolkien. And I think there's so many people who had never read the books, still haven't read the books, but love fantasy now because of those movies. It's what started the ball rolling towards our modern environment of nerd culture being kind of cool.
Dude, yes.
I'm not saying as soon as those movies came out, nerd culture became cool, but people started realizing that nerdy stuff can be fun and cool. And so without those movies, in my opinion, we wouldn't be in the world we are today where, like, people dudes like Henry Cavill is being celebrated for being a huge nerd. So, like, you look at the handsome devil, like, you wouldn't expect him to be a Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, Witcher guy.
He's huge.
And he definitely wouldn't be telling people about it 30 years ago in the 90s.
Right.
He'd just be, he'd be Sylvester Stallone.
That's right.
A man's man. But no, he embraces his nerdness because in today's world, like, you can like anime and it's all right.
Oh, wow.
When I was a kid, if you was like a huge anime nerd, if you watched anything other than Dragon Ball Z, you were a weirdo.
Yeah.
Right?
Why is
that kid, and actually I saw something on Twitter and I was like, I'm so glad that it's cool to watch anime. And I was like, dude, it was never not cool to watch anime. You were just weird because you was running around trying to do Naruto hand moves on people at recess.
That's true.
Like, but you can enjoy what you want to enjoy. I don't care. Like, people are starting up Dungeons and Dragons groups all over the place now, and, like, sorry man, I can't. I got Dungeons and Dragons tonight. It's a completely valid answer to why you can't go do something.
I'm like, okay.
Enjoy.
Can I join?
Exactly. So, like, that wouldn't have happened, I don't think, without Lord of the Rings becoming what it was.
Were you there at Joe Womack's house after school when we playing
the Two Towers on the GameCube?
On the game, I mean, that was huge for us, was it not?
Uh-huh.
I mean,
dude, all we ever did was log into that, or not log in, but start that thing up and play the Helm's Deep level over and over and over again.
That was like the coolest thing in the world.
Uh-huh.
I was like doing a Legolas or Aragorn or Gimli.
Gimli was the king.
Gimli kind of thick, alright. I'm about to go with Gimli. Oh, it was Gandalf though. I mean, that was
you gotta go Gandalf. Think back to your memories of Lord of the Rings and what made you fall in love with them. It wasn't the Legolas action figure.
Yeah.
The reason you played the Lord of the Rings video game was because you already loved the movies.
So here's a tough question. Without the Peter Jackson trilogy, what is The Lord of the Rings?
Still a foundational piece of media.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think fantasy would be quite as popular as it is now.
Yeah.
I still think we would have, like, there would still be a lot of good fantasy stuff out there.
It'd be tougher to convince studios to like invest big money. You know what I'm saying?
It wouldn't be as popular. We wouldn't have as many like popular movies. I don't think nerd culture would be the way it is now without it. Don't know if I would be a fantasy head the way that I am.
Same. I don't really think so either. My interest would not be...
Because that's what sparked my interest, was loving those movies.
First of all, you have the two greatest cinematic battle scenes in one movie trilogy, right? Helm's Deep and then Pelennor. I mean, those are 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Return of the King as an ending, I know some people say it could be kind of long and whatever, but...
That's why it's great.
I mean, like, every time I watch that trilogy, I just... When I end it, I just have this feeling I still don't get from any other... Do you get that same feeling?
I really do.
It's just like this feeling of...
I'll do you one better.
It's hard to explain.
I'll do you one better. I get that same feeling when I listen to the song by Annie Lennox, Into the West.
Oh,
all of the emotion. I don't even have to watch the series
every time,
to experience that feeling, that emotion. It's just like completeness, peace, and you just kind of have to take a moment to just bask in the masterpiece. This year, I guess I should say, it's the 20th anniversary of the Return of the King coming out, and a movie theater near me was doing a showing, and they did the extended cut Return of the King in the theater, and I went and saw it.
Dude, that's
because
awesome.
I was in second grade, third grade when the Return of the King came out, so I didn't get to see it in theaters. So I'm gonna go see it, and I did, and I spent I watched every single name run across that screen at the credits because I was just like,
holy fuck.
I was just feeling everything.
Oh, it's a feeling of, dude, satisfaction, adventure, happiness, completion, kind of like almost a feeling of relief.
Yeah, it's just like, if you could extend the feeling of wow to like about 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you sit there thinking, and you don't even know what you're thinking about. You're just thinking.
You're just emotional, like, dang.
Exactly. They somehow managed to pack so much emotion into that series. Which, by all rights, that movie should have no reason to be that emotional.
Dude, definitely not. Definitely not.
When you actually look at what happens, you shouldn't feel that way you wouldn't feel that way at the end of a Marvel movie.
No, I didn't.
Except maybe Infinity War. But that's because they left you with that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But
this is different, dude.
This is different.
I don't get that feeling in any other...
I get that kind of, like, not the same feeling, but I feel that way at the end of a movie where, like, everything turns out bleak and there is no winner. Where you're just like, you're sitting there thinking for a moment. But you don't often have that feeling at the end of a movie that ends well. Where you just have to sit and process for a moment.
Dang.
The movies that end with, like, bleak, nobody wins, everybody loses, dies, whatever, you have to sit and process for a minute because you don't expect that out of a movie.
Right.
You expect it to end well for everybody. Lord of the Rings, it ends well, and you still have to sit and process.
It's just the adventure, just...
It's over.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah, dude, that's... Oh, so, just incredible. I can honestly say it changed my life.
Yeah.
That's fair, is it? I mean, it's truly fair to say.
Yeah, like, I spend too much of my time...
We both do.
Reading, watching, consuming Lord of the Rings related media. When there's no new content coming out. There has not been new content since, like, the mid-'80s, '90s.
Yeah. Literally.
Like, really, there's been no new content. Like, it's been released by Christopher Tolkien, but, like, no new content generated since Tolkien died.
Yeah.
And there's still people talking about it, analyzing it, diving in. New takes, new interpretations, linking this to that, to this, to that, to that.
God, dude.
Just there's so much involved because of the dedication that the author put into it. For his own gratification.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You guys got to remember, he produced The Hobbit in like the 30s, but he'd already started building that world. He just wanted to write a children's story for his kids that's set in that world. And then he just kind of kept tinkering with different stories. He had so many stories. When he was a student, like they had every so often they had to like write and read an essay, and he hadn't done anything, so he just started reading the beginnings of this story. He never completed that story. It's not in the Silmarillion because it wasn't ever completed, and Christopher was not about to invent stuff based off his father's work, so it went into Unfinished Tales. But he read that to his audience at Oxford. Wow. It's the first piece of Tolkien work that was ever heard by the public, and it didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything with it. It's just sitting in his notebook, and he rewrote it a few times. And but like he wrote The Hobbit, published it in the 30s, and then just kept tinkering with the world until the 70s.
Dude, 50 years of just by himself in his study. Just loving, just making this world.
Just making this world, writing little stories, little snippets here and there, figuring out how this fits into that. How does the timeline all work? Developing 2 new languages.
Golly.
Actually, like 3 or 4 new languages, because he had Kenya, Sindarin. I think he fleshed out Dwarvish.
Just for funsies, right?
Just for funsies.
Man, dude, he just got so interested in it. He's like, you know what? They need a language.
He just had such an imagination that
I love it, man.
Yeah,
it's inspirational. It really is. Like, I don't know if we'll ever see something like that ever again.
We won't.
For some of you who have gone to the link in my website from my YouTube channel, you'll see, even in the story I'm writing, a lot of it is obviously pulled from.
Yeah.
You just can't not do it.
You have to. It's unavoidable. And even if you don't deliberately pull from something else, somebody's going to see a similarity.
So, post 2003, Lord of the Rings, the trilogy ends, and now you start to see from there, wait, what's this? League of Legends begins. Huh. Destiny, Final Fantasy, Game of Thrones,
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
You just see this huge influx of fantasy-based media coming out. Mostly video games. Elder Scrolls.
Well, yeah, just all that. The Elder Scrolls, like, just tons of IPs, man. But ever since, it feels like the next big thing was Game of Thrones, right? There's season 8, if it would have ended good, some argue that actually could have taken the place of Lord of the Rings at number 1 for, like, fantasy IPs.
I mean, you think about it. It was, to many people, the biggest franchise in the world. Everyone was, like, camping. They were having parties when the new episodes would drop.
Yeah.
And now no one talks about it.
Yeah, literally. Isn't that crazy?
It would be on a pedestal of popular media, most popular media of all time, but they dropped the ball. I would argue Martin dropped the ball on that.